And we begin tonight with brand new information in the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. He's the illegal immigrant who was mistakenly deported back to his home country of El Salvador. And just into our newsroom, new details about his past. Just hours after Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen arrived back here in the U.S. after speaking to Garcia. In fact, let's start there tonight with these pictures that show Garcia sharing a meal with Senator Van Hollen, who traveled to El Salvador to check on Garcia. Garcia is dressed in normal clothes, and his recently shaved head is covered with a ball cap. A short time ago, the senator spoke about his visit, saying that Garcia has been moved out of the notorious prison C-Cot and into a different facility tonight.
I asked the vice president exactly that question. Why is he here? Is he violating any laws in El Salvador? Do you have any proof that he's committed a crime? No. Why is he here? Because the Trump administration is paying us to keep him here.
And today at the White House, our political director, Lindsey Keith, asked President Trump's deputy chief of staff if the U.S. was willing to ask El Salvador to deport Garcia to a different country, which would correct the error originally made in this case. Here's the response.
If we were to forcibly retrieve him, the irony would be is that because he's here illegally and has a deportation order, he would simply be deported the second time back to El Salvador because the withholding order that has been so much discussed is no longer valid or enforced because he's a member of a foreign terrorist organization.
Remember, President Trump has designated dangerous, deadly gangs like Tren de Aragua and MS-13 as terrorist organizations. And yes, the debate over Garcia being an MS-13 gang member continues, even though new reports show he had a ranking position and a nickname within MS-13. And now new court records are shining new light on his time here in the United States. We've learned that he was pulled over in Tennessee back in December of 2022. The Tennessee Highway Patrol called the FBI, who said, just take his picture and let him go. Garcia was driving without a valid license, and he had 8 other people in the car with him. He was driving from Texas to Maryland. Again, this was in 2022, 10 years after Garcia admittedly snuck into our country illegally through our southern border in Texas. The Tennessee Highway Patrol was concerned that Garcia was engaged in human trafficking. Why, you ask? Well, the officer noted that there were 9 people in the car on a cross-country trip with no luggage. The officer thought that was suspicious. What do you think? Let's bring Michael Patrick Leahy into this conversation. He is the CEO, the editor-in-chief of the Tennessee Star. Your newspaper, sir, you broke this story. Thank you for joining us. Kudos and great reporting to you and your team. What else have you learned about this traffic stop from December of 2022?
Well, you got the facts right on that, Chris. Good job on your part reporting. Now, what we learned from the dispatch record filed by the Tennessee Highway Patrol officer is Kilmar Abrego Garcia was in fact pulled over on the evening of December 1st, 2022, because he was speeding and wasn't maintaining his lane. When they pulled him over, they asked him for his driver's license. He produced a temporary driver's license that illegal aliens can get in Maryland, but it was expired. So they took that information. The Highway Patrol officer went into his vehicle and he entered that information into what's called the NCIC. That's a database. And that information flagged Garcia for some reason. We don't know what that particular reason was. This information goes to the Terrorist Screening Center run by the FBI in Vienna, Virginia. And so they've got a protocol that they go through when this happens. And in that protocol, the Terrorist Screening Center of the FBI said, okay, go back in, take a picture of everybody in the vehicle, all the documents you can find, and then send that into us, and then we'll analyze it.
Did your sources... Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead with your question, Chris.
Well, I'm just wondering, did your sources talk about the reasoning behind the FBI just saying, take everyone's picture and let them go?
Well, yeah, that's a very good question. Now, late last night, the Tennessee Highway Patrol confirmed to us that it was the FBI that told them to release them after they've been detained. Now, you talk about the protocol. apparently in the state of Tennessee at that time in 2022, by the way, they said it was the Biden era FBI. There was a protocol, and they were following that protocol. And the protocol is for law enforcement to dial this information into NCIC. And if it gets a hit, then you follow the instruction from the FBI analyst who calls you back. So that's why they told them to do that.
Yeah, and you're right. The way that the immigration laws were being enforced was different than what we're seeing today. So according to your reporting, a source within the Tennessee Highway Patrol said that Garcia, again, was on that terrorist watch list, but then another source said he wasn't. What's your take on that? Where do you stand on that tonight? Was he on a terrorist watch list or not?
Well, we don't know what list he was on. Okay. But we do know that when they dialed in to the terrorist screening center, it told them, hey, pay attention. He was on some sort of list. That we do know. And that's what prompted this. I want to add a couple things on this. Very important. All 8 individuals there that Garcia was transporting from Texas to Maryland, all 8 of them listed their home address as, wait for it, Garcia's home address. When asked by the highway patrol officer there who owned the vehicle, the Garcia apparently said, the owner of the construction company for which I work. Now, the registration information is something that we've requested from the Tennessee Highway Patrol through the Public Records Request Act, and we'll get that information pretty soon.
Well, we will keep reading your newspaper, sir. Again, Michael Patrick Leahy, kudos to you and your team for the work that you're doing and the reporting that you've done